This is from the New York Post. Snowflakeism. Gen Z hires are easily offended and not ready for the workplace, says business leaders.
I'm sorry, your old asses aren't ready for Gen Z. That's what it is. Gen Z employees are entitled, too easily offended, lazy, and generally unprepared for the workplace, according to their bosses. The dismal assessment of workers born between 1996 and 2010 comes in a poll of 966 business leaders across the country taken last month by the online education magazine Intelligent.com. The survey found 75% of executives felt most of the recent college grads they hired were unsuccessful. 60% said at least some of them had to be fired. Sounds like board management to me. The supervisors, who ranged from C-suite executives and business owners to senior and human resources managers at companies with more than 10 employees, said they'll refrain from hiring Gen Z workers in the coming year. That blows my mind. That part blows my mind. How can you say that?
You like how a company full of boomers can complain about dumbass shit?
I mean, how can
they'll never complain about their, so go ahead.
I guess you just never expect any of your employees currently to like die or move on, you know? Like, how are you going to shut down a whole fucking generation? Like, you were born in 1996, you went to college, you have 2 master's degrees? Nah, you're not qualified. Like, yeah. Bro, what?
This is a bunch of bullshit.
It's kind of funny in a way. They're just fucking themselves over by not having an entire generation of workforce. Like, you're just hurting your own business, yo. With Gen Z, they've got a ton of access to information, a lot of different content, news sources, and influences, said Hai Nguyen, Chief Education and Career Development Advisor for Intelligent, and a former Fortune 500 hiring manager. So when they go into a company that has more traditional norms, you get a situation where it doesn't always mesh, he told the Post. You mean Gen Z won't let you slap their fucking ass and like make inappropriate comments and jokes about them? Go fucking Gen Z. Why did we deal with it? About 17% of leaders believe Gen Z, who range in age from their teens to about 28, is often too difficult to manage. And 39% said they have poor communication skills. No, they just don't want to talk to you. Also, when you act like you're not, when you don't act like a boss, when you act like you're literally like in control of them in their entire lives, even when they're not there working for you, then yeah, they're not going to communicate. Like, how many people are terrified to call into work?
Pretty much everyone.
Because your job makes you feel like shit for it. You call and tell them that you have a family member that died, and they're like, can you come in tomorrow? No, I can't. Well, your mom died. We'll give you 3 days off. You should be over it by then. Like, the fuck? What are you doing? I'm glad Gen Z sees this shit and is like, we need better.
I mean, my former boss, his wife died of a heart condition, and he left for a week, and they were threatening to fire him if he wasn't coming back.
A week is not enough time to get over your spouse.
To grieve your significant other.
I mean, there's never enough time, but like a week, like it's just not.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How can you look somebody in the eye and say that to them?
You gotta be the sociopath employer. Like, just make your fucking money. That's all you care about.
Boomers.
What most of them care about. That's all they care about, most of them.
That's I hate how valid that is. It'd be nice if people were more compassionate.
It'd be nice if people see people's value other than just in a monetary sense.
Justin James, an international entrepreneur, business mentor, and speaker, said some Gen Zers struggle to articulate themselves, don't look you in the eye, and don't project their voices. They lack charisma and personality skills, he told the Post, adding, I don't feel they are in tune with what it takes to impress others.
Oh, please.
You mean they don't work every time that you call them? They don't work all the overtime that you try to force on them? They call into work sick? They take their vacation days? They care more about their lives than they do about your company, and that's the fucking problem with you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the entire life dedicated to work.
Well, I don't even understand all of Gen Z, but it's a whole fucking generation of people. How do you do that? Fuck it. I don't want boomers in the office anymore. I don't want some 85-year-old looking down my shirt.
It's okay to be ageist if they're young.
James has seen what he calls snowflakeism, some Gen Zers crumbling under even a little pressure. It's almost like you have to walk on eggshells around them, being super sensitive when managing them, in case you offend them, upset them, push them too far, he said. Some 20-somethings have even brought a parent with them to job interviews for support. Corporate environments and office culture have relaxed in recent years and are viewed differently between generations. But even with a more laid-back office environment, recent college grads don't dress professionally and don't use appropriate language for work. 19% of those surveyed said. A lot of the... What does that mean they don't dress appropriately for work? Do you mean they dress...
Casual. Yeah.
So do they dress like more comfortable, like, you know, like they should be? Or do they dress like in tube tops and mini skirts? Like, what do we mean by inappropriate and not appropriate?
Do you have a dress code?
A lot of these responses matched up with general stereotypes of how people talk about Gen Z in general. While some of the beliefs are subjective, others are not, he said, like being on time. About 20% of respondents said Gen Zers are often late to work, and 15% said they frequently hand assignments in late. The younger generation is also more likely to use other sick days than their older colleagues, recent studies have found. But many bosses are trying to tame the immature hires, even mandating office etiquette training.
You guys want to make them want to work for your shitty ass one?
It's just... Yeah, it's because the older generation has been taught not to use your sick days, that it's bad to use your sick days unless you're absolutely, like, deathly ill. That's kind of what we've had, you know, like, beaten
sick
into
days, I've never
us.
had sick day paid.
They make them do etiquette training? You mean CBLs? You mean the little tests that you make everybody do on the computer?
Mm-hmm.
The one that nobody pays attention to? These people are so out of touch, it's unreal.
For real. It's like they've never been an employee before.
54% of the company leaders surveyed said they offer the training and many mandate it for new hires, and a quarter of them specifically require it for Gen Z recruits. Yeah, that should be against rules because that is ageism. We shouldn't have, that would be like, oh, only the women need to have this training. No, you all have to have it. It's a blanket policy, which means it applies to everyone, not just Gen Z because you don't like the way they talk. I have to be sensitive. I can't make racist jokes around them in the office anymore.
There's also a percentage of baby boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials that are the same way. So what's your fucking point?
He's a boomer.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
He just wanted to bitch about something. The only thing he can bitch about is his employees that he doesn't even know or doesn't know what they do or wouldn't know how to do their jobs in the first place to the very minimal. Because that's always what there is.
Yeah, it's always your manager doesn't know what the fuck how to do your job. So fuck him.
But yells at you how to do your job.
Why aren't you doing your job right? I don't know how to do it, but yeah.
Why don't you show me? I got something else to do.
Hell, yeah.
Nearly 80% of companies surveyed reported placing at least some of the disappointing hires on performance improvement plans. I've been on those. And you know why I've been on those? Because I didn't follow scripting to a T. That's why I've been on the improvement plans. I didn't follow scripting. It's not that I had bad service. It's not that I had people complaining. It's not that, you know, I did anything actually wrong. I just didn't follow a script to a T, and that put me on a performance plan. So
performance improvement plans. That's basically where they can nitpick you and
fire you for anything.
Well, not only that, but like deny your raises and like things like that. Is
or position changes.
It's their excuse. It's like, well, you didn't get this because of that. Yeah.
How's my performance, guys? Has it improved? Probably not. I'm following the script, though. Promise.
You're a floating head.
Adapting to Gen Z, bridging the gap between generations to ensure everyone's success would be a prudent way forward. More and more of them will enter the workforce. They're here to stay. No fucking shit, dude. What do you think they're gonna do?
You're just never gonna hire anyone that's born after 1996.
Don't. Let them find something better. How did I say that?
Well, you know, they watch their parents slave away at the lives that they have now, and you know, a lot of them probably aren't exactly happy with that. So
I mean, a majority of people, regardless if you had a 2-parent household, they often had a 1-parent household because one parent was always gone to work. So think about that. Like, you know, in our generation, the people that like never got to throw a ball around in the yard with their dad because he's always working, or you know, mom didn't go to my football game because she was working.
The grandparents can't ever watch the kids because they work too.
And grandparents working, yeah.
Well, what the fuck is that?
That's the boomers complaining about Gen Z. Yeah.
We'll take boomers out of the damn workforce.
That's how I feel. Yeah, because they're like, we have to walk on eggshells around them. Like, what do you mean?
Walk around eggshells around your ass.
You can't make your racist jokes anymore. You can't be sexist. You can't look a girl down her shirt or grab her ass in the office anymore, and that's the problem. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. You are the one that needs training, not Gen Z. Gen Z just needs to keep going. Honestly, as lazy as you might think they are, they just need to keep being that way because they're going to find something better than what we all did.
They're going to give us our first general strike someday.
They don't have to pump out children so they can be your corporate slaves. You know, I mean, I hope Gen Z does better. I hope Gen Z finds better. I hope Gen Z can experience better than what we did, because that's what you're supposed to want. You're supposed to want the next generation to have it better.
As a boomer, stop being so fucking selfish and start thinking about the kids.
Yeah, you're going to die. I'm sorry. I'm going to die. I think of my children. What are they going to have when I die? What can I provide them with? How can I help them when I'm no longer around to help them? And why the fuck can't the generation that's older than me do that?
Well, fuck all that. Why not? It's basic necessities off the table. I could die happy with that, knowing my kids just have the basic necessities they need for life, and that they can enjoy their life the way they want to.
And not be depressed because they're going in and doing the 9 to 5. Not have anxiety because their boss is always looking over their shoulder.
And doing a job that they fucking hate, don't want to do.
And not able to find what they love, what
if
they
you're going to
dream.
do a job that you fucking hate, you better be compensated. That's all I got to say. And they fucking aren't. So why do it? It's not worth the shake.
They're loud enough, even though they're too quiet and can't communicate. You know why they don't look you in the eyes? Because you're intimidating them. Because when you're there talking to them, when you want to talk to them, the first thing in their mind is, fuck.
Maybe they realize the power structure and how much power you have over their life.
I'm going to get fired. It's a terrifying thought. Every time your boss calls you in the office, the first thought is, fuck.
Because
what did I do?
When you're at work, what do they constantly do? They constantly make you feel like you're replaceable. Nobody wants that. That's the dynamic of nearly every job in capitalism, and it fucking sucks. And we want something better than capitalism.
And we definitely want it for the next generation, and the next, and the next, and the next. Now millennials, now we're getting dragged into it too. You're right, bitch. I don't want to work. I don't want to work for a corporate. I don't want to work for a corporation. I mean,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I don't like I don't like that everything that I do, even when I'm not at work, revolves around work. It's like, you're like, all right, well, as soon as you get off work, now you have to plan for your night to get ready, to go to bed, to go to work. And it's just a continuous cycle. And then it's like, you get invited to go out, but you have to work the next day. So you don't want to go out. You know, it just controls your life. So you're right. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to be slaves. We don't want to be depressed. We don't want to have anxiety. We want to be fucking happy. We want to feel fulfilled. We want the earth to survive instead of turning on us because we're poisoning it constantly. Like, it's so...
Yeah, it's simple shit.
It's common sense. And I just think when you hit a certain age, you're just like...
And they know it. They know it. They really do. They fucking know it. It's a lot of people don't realize it.
It's because they're too busy being slaves to the corporations.
The ruling class are very class conscious. Very class conscious.
So much money from us, it's ridiculous.
50 trillion since 1970. Are you ready?
They used to not control or have as much as they do, but yeah, recent stock trading scams and all this other bullshit made them take all the power away from the people.
Nixon and Reagan. This is from MSN. Why Gen Z and millennials don't want to work. People can't afford to live, explains TikToker.
Amen. And that is also probably why you see 20-something-year-olds bringing their parent to a job interview with them. It's because they haven't been fairly compensated to be able to live their lives, to be able to purchase their own home, to be able to get married, to be able to start a family if they want to be able to live out their dreams and their lives.
And that wrecks your fucking confidence. And
so you're stuck living in your mom's basement because you can't pay $1,500 for a one-bedroom studio apartment on a $1,200 a month salary. Duh.
And you're supposed to feel really bad about yourself for that.
Yes. You're supposed to feel like it's your fault and you need to work more jobs.
You need to work 2 or 3 jobs.
If you want to succeed, yeah, of course. You should always be working.
Even down by the boot of the man.
You really are, because if you have to have a car, you have to have a license. You also have to have car insurance. You have to have that to be able to get a job. But you also need a house to be able to get an address and a bank account to be able to put your money. So if you don't already have those things, you have to do all that first. And then you can go to a job interview where you may or may not get a job with a vehicle that you can't afford. So since you're living in mom's basement, since you're helping mom with bills because her job doesn't pay enough either, you can't afford your own vehicle, you can't afford your own home, you can't afford your own other shit. It's just set up to fail. There's no way to win.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Don't follow the lie. The American dream is dead.
I think it was a mirage for a long time anyway.
True, but it was more believable with the way it was previously. Sorry. I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but they're just so fucking out of touch. The never-ending battle of the generations. Which generation is the most entitled and which is the most hardworking? This is one of the hottest topics on the internet right now. Are the boomers right? Has Gen Z no respect for boundaries and authority? Or are the Zoomers revolutionizing the way we understand work? To put this debate to rest, a woman made a TikTok video about the misconception that the younger generations are lazy. She explained the controversial millennials and Gen Z don't want to work anymore idea. It's not just about laziness. The rising cost of living and stagnant wages are also to blame. Yeah, for real. The TikToker explains, I don't want to work anymore. And now everyone who's not going to watch the full video can go comment about how lazy I am, how lazy my generation is, and how we just don't want to work anymore. And now for those that are still here, I'll explain what we mean by that. I do want to work. If I didn't work, I think I would honestly probably get so bored that I would just want to off myself. Most of us want to work. It helps give you purpose. It helps give you something to do. Hopefully you do something you're passionate about. Luckily for me, I do something I'm passionate about, so I generally like my job. I genuinely like my job. But the problem is, the purpose of a job is supposed to pay for you to be able to afford to live, and that's just not the case anymore. People in my generation who went to college, who did everything they were supposed to do, worked hard in school, went to a good college, graduated with a degree, yada yada, got their first job, and they can't afford to live. And we're working 40 to 60 hours a week on average, and we cannot afford to live. We just do not make enough to pay rent, to pay for food. Everything is so expensive right now, and wages are not keeping up with the cost of living. So we're working full time, giving up a huge portion of our lives to work, and we can't even afford to live. That is why my generation is frustrated. That is why we don't want to work anymore, because we work really hard and we still can't afford to even get by. So what's the point? We can't afford to save. We can't afford to buy things we want. We can't afford to go out and do fun things. We can barely afford to pay our rent and buy food. A lot of us have 2 or 3 jobs or work a full-time job and have several side hustles. That's the case for me. And then older generations just look at us and they're like, you're not working hard enough. This is your fault. You're not working hard enough. The reason we can't get by is because the cost of living since the 90s has gone up 67%, while the wages have only gone up 18%. So wages have not kept up with the cost of living. That's why we can't afford to live. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't work, not because we don't want to work anymore. That is why. That is all. We're also in extreme debt because everything is so much more expensive than it used to be. College is way more expensive than it used to be. Cars are way more expensive than they used to be. Housing, way more expensive than it used to be. And on top of all that, politicians and older generations are destroying our environment, not doing anything to protect it. So we don't even know that there'll be a habitable earth when we're older to live in. So yeah, that makes us pretty pessimistic and nihilistic and not want to work. Experts agree that Gen Z faces unique financial challenges compared to older generations, slowing wage increases, the gig economy, and debt. Well, they agree to it, but they still think you're lazy fucks. The woman in the video, Nick, is right when she says wages have not kept up with the cost of living. Self Financial did a report in 2023 that found the annual salary for U.S. college graduates decreased by over 10% after adjusting for inflation. Graduates earn $68,342 in 1984, $7,254 more than graduates in 2023. And you guys might be like, oh, that's not very much, but you know what? That is. That $7,000, ooh, that's a huge difference, you know? Personal finance site Go Banking Rates writes that today's economic scene has many Gen Z individuals earning wages that don't keep pace with inflation. That's why the current generation sometimes can't afford to pay their rent. Limited affordable housing, rising urban demands, high land and building costs, and zoning laws have pushed up rent prices. Even having 2 or more jobs doesn't always help. Working for Uber or DoorDash can be a great way to earn extra money, but it doesn't constitute a steady income. Fluctuating paychecks can be why some people are not able to pay their rent on a regular basis. Like DoorDash or Instacart, I don't think that those should really be looked at like the way they're looking at it. So they're saying that like fluctuating paychecks can be why some people aren't able to pay their rent. So they're saying that it's your fault because of the job you picked, the job that you were able to get, the job you got hired for, doesn't pay you a regular salary.
If you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to afford to live, period.
No, I'm talking about how they're talking shit about like.
Oh, I know.
Like,
I'm just saying, like, I don't care about their bullshit. Like, fuck you. That's what I'm saying. Green MAGA.
and the funny thing is that there's other countries that work 32 hours a week at most, and that's their full-time job, and they can afford to live
Because they have unions.
and they have to get 17 paid days, vacation days off that they are mandatory to take.
Some have more, yeah.
Like, we're the United States. We love stealing things from people. So why don't we steal all these good jobs?
Number one. Why can't we be number one in the good fucking
the things that
bros, whatever.
The things that show statistically work. Why can't we obtain those? I mean, them doing the non-con.
It's just the Republicans and the ratchet effect of the last 30 years. It's just completely drawn us away from any kind of conversation on like improving our lives just because they're so entwined with business interests.
Is that along the lines of how you're not allowed to discuss your pay, but actually you are allowed to discuss your pay, but your bosses make it clear that you shouldn't do that?
Yeah, they do a lot of things that they're not supposed to do, but they're basically our tyrants. Whoever you work for is your tyrant.
Mick also mentions how her generation is in extreme debt, and she's right again. One of the biggest factors in young people's poor credit scores is student loans. Shouldn't have credit scores anyway. We should abolish that whole fucking thing.
And abolish student loans and make healthcare or
education free. Yep. The balances have increased 153% in the last 2 years, and almost 35% of Gen Zers have an outstanding balance. The TIAA Institute and the Global Financial Literacy Center surveyed the financial literacy of 5 generations in the U.S. in 2021. They found that Gen Z lacks knowledge of how to manage their finances the most. Such statistics may sound bleak, but let's also not forget that the younger generations have the most time to make up for their shortcomings. Gen Z is also the generation that is most likely to have participated in a financial education class, according to the survey mentioned above. Resume Builder published a survey on May 15, 2023. In it, 74% of people in managerial positions said they find Gen Z difficult to work with. Young employees clash with their older colleagues because of their different approach to work. One young worker told the New Zealand One News the essence of the Gen Z and millennial work ethic. I should be providing value for you, and I should only want to work for you if you can provide me the value as well. It should go both ways. Yeah, amen to that. The things that the younger generations are demanding are not astronomical changes. 3 out of 4 boomers and Gen Xers also say they care more about who they are outside of work. The difference is that Gen Z and millennials voice their demands to achieve that work and life balance. The younger generations want to know that their boss values the time and effort they put into their work. What's the point of being an invisible cog in a giant corporate machine if you can't even pay for your apartment? That's the question the younger generations are asking. Amen to that.
Fucking never stop. Fucking scream that shit always.
Make a change.
The kids are alright.